Rain streaked down the tall windows of St. Luke's Medical Center, the city skyline shimmering like a watercolor painting beyond the glass. Nurse Clara Dawson adjusted her glasses and glanced at the clipboard in her hands. The night shift was quiet, eerily quiet. The kind that made you notice every flicker of the fluorescent lights and the distant hum of the elevator. Clara wasn't the type to chase conversations. She liked her peace, her routines, her little desk tucked in the corner of the nurse's station. Her colleagues called her the ghost because she moved so silently from room to room, leaving behind nothing but the faint scent of lavender soap. But that night, she noticed him. He came in just before midnight, tall, sharply dressed, but pale as the hospital sheets. His hand trembled as he signed the admission form, the pen scratching unevenly across the page. The name made her blink. Ethan Vale, CEO of Vale Industries. She'd seen his face on business magazines, billboards, and once, even on a hospital donation plaque in the lobby. "What brings you in tonight, Mr. Vale?" she asked softly. He hesitated, rubbing his temples. "Just stress, I think. The shaking won't stop." She noted the tremor in his right hand, subtle but persistent, like an invisible metronome ticking away. His suit jacket was perfectly tailored, but his eyes, tired, hollow, framed by shadows, betrayed the polished exterior. "Let's get you to an observation room," she said, leading him gently. As she helped him onto the bed, her fingers brushed his. His skin was cool, his pulse fast. For a moment their eyes met, hers calm but curious, his stormy with something deeper than exhaustion. Over the next hour, Clara monitored his vitals. His blood pressure was high, his hands shook intermittently, and he winced now and then, clutching his side as if a knife twisted beneath his ribs. "You said it's just stress?" she asked quietly. He nodded, avoiding her gaze. "It's been a rough few months. The board's breathing down my neck. I haven't been sleeping much," Clara frowned. She'd heard that line from countless patients who worked themselves into illness. But this was different. There was something off. When she checked his lab results later, her heart tightened. His white blood cell count was elevated, not dangerously, but enough to raise suspicion, and his hands, still trembling, didn't fit the pattern of simple fatigue. She found him sitting on the bed, staring out the rain-soaked window. His phone buzzed endlessly beside him, the screen lighting up with unread messages. "Mr. Vale," she said softly, "you need to rest. The tests show your body's fighting something. I'd like to run another round just to be sure." He turned toward her, frustration flickering behind his eyes. "You don't understand. I can't stay here. I've got a meeting tomorrow with the investors. If I don't show up, then what?" She interrupted gently. "The company collapses? The world ends?" The sharpness in her tone startled both of them. She immediately looked away, flustered. "I'm sorry," she murmured. "That was unprofessional." But instead of snapping, Ethan laughed softly, a sound that was half exhale, half surrender. "No, you're right," he said. "I just don't know how to stop." Clara hesitated. "Sometimes the hardest thing to do is to stand still," she whispered. Their eyes met again, and for a brief moment the room felt suspended in time. The hum of the machines, the rain tapping the glass, the quiet thrum of two lives colliding by accident. Hours passed. The night deepened. Clara brought him tea, chamomile with a hint of honey, and found him sitting cross-legged on the bed, staring at his trembling hand. "Has this happened before?" she asked, jotting notes. He hesitated. "Yes, a few times in the last month. My doctor said it's probably anxiety." She studied him carefully. "And what do you think?" He gave a dry smile. "I think my body's finally rebelling. Maybe it's tired of pretending I've got everything under control." There it was, the crack in the armor. Beneath the confident CEO was a man fraying at the seams. Clara reached for his wrist, feeling the steady pulse. "We'll find out what's wrong. But for now, you need to breathe." She showed him how. Slow inhale, slow exhale, like waves rolling onto a shore. For the first time in what felt like years, Ethan obeyed someone else's rhythm. The next morning, the attending physician confirmed what Clara had suspected. Ethan wasn't just stressed. He had an undiagnosed infection that had spread quietly through his system, causing fever spikes and tremors. It wasn't fatal, but if ignored, it could have been. When he heard the news, Ethan looked at Clara with something like gratitude and fear. "You caught it," he said softly. "If you hadn't," Clara smiled shyly, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "You would have collapsed in that boardroom, and that would have made quite the headline." He laughed again, genuine this time. "Remind me to send St. Luke's a very large donation." She raised an eyebrow. "Send yourself a break instead." Over the next week, Ethan remained in the hospital for observation. Clara checked on him more often than her rounds required. She told herself it was professional diligence, but her heart knew better. He asked about her life one evening as they watched the sunset paint the city gold through his window. "You're quiet," he said. "Always moving like you're afraid to disturb the air." Clara smiled faintly. "Being quiet lets me see things other people miss." "Like me?" She looked up. "Exactly like you." Their conversations grew longer, about her love of books, his dream of disappearing somewhere with no cell signal, her fear of speaking up, his regret for never slowing down. The distance between nurse and patient blurred into something fragile but real. When he was discharged, the ward felt oddly empty. Clara found herself pausing outside the room, staring at the neatly made bed, missing the sound of his voice. 2 weeks later, a bouquet of white lilies appeared at the nurse's station with a note. "You were right. Sometimes standing still saves your life." "Dinner?" Evie, her hands trembled slightly as she read it. She'd never gone to dinner with anyone outside the hospital. But something about the note, simple, unassuming, felt like a door opening. That night she wore a soft blue dress and waited at a small restaurant overlooking the river. When Ethan walked in, healthier, brighter, with a smile that reached his eyes, she felt her nerves dissolve. "You came," he said, almost surprised. She nodded. "I figured you might need someone to remind you to breathe." He laughed, offering his hand. Not the shaky one she remembered, but steady, warm, confident. Months passed. Ethan kept his promise. He slowed down. He took weekends off, learned to cook, even joined Clara for long walks through the park on Sundays. One evening, as they sat beneath the fading light, he turned to her. "Do you ever think about how small choices change everything?" She smiled. "Every day. If you hadn't noticed my hands that night, you'd have scared your investors to death," she teased. He grinned, then reached for her hand, the same hand that had once checked his pulse. "You didn't just save my life, Clara. You gave it back to me." She blushed, eyes soft. "You gave yourself a second chance. I just handed you the mirror." The river shimmered in the twilight as his fingers intertwined with hers, steady now, no longer trembling. When the rain began again, months later, it no longer felt lonely. For somewhere in the heart of the city, a shy nurse and a once broken CEO sat by the window, the rhythm of the raindrops echoing the quiet certainty of two hearts that had finally learned to stand still, together.